When the goons are calling, you got problems, bro.
right. I ain't gonna let the goon know where I live. What's going on,
goon? I just gotta say, I don't even know why we're having this conversation about Mahomes and Rodgers when at the end of the day, winning is what matters.
It is.
Aaron Rodgers is like the LeBron of football if he won less. He is one of the most talented football players ever and is arguably a top 3 passer ever. But at the end of the day, he couldn't win when he was in the best possible situation he could have been.
Okay.
That's my problem. And I think Mahomes, he's overachieved so much in his career with some of these teams. I'm going to say the one team he had with Tyreek Hill, they should have won that, and he probably shouldn't have lost it in Tampa Bay. But those two Super Bowls from 2 years ago, that is really what solidified him. I think he's a top 3 quarterback ever. Ooh. And I'm probably biased because he's from my generation. But I just, at the end of the day, winning is what matters. And the dominance he showed over the league since he got in is what puts him above Aaron Rodgers. And I know he has less MVPs, but football at the end of the day is a team sport.
Yeah, no, I'm okay with the MVP thing.
And I think Aaron Rodgers he didn't give a shit after he won. And I think he should have won more in his career. And that's my biggest problem.
Yeah, so
I also think
it's a situation of maybe underachievement in your perspective.
Yeah, exactly. And I think, we're going to use the Andy Reid argument, but we were saying about that guy in New England, and then he goes to Tampa Bay and he wins one.
Right.
So I feel like that argument is also relevant because we're also looking at the talent Mahomes has as well. So I don't know. I just wanted to give my piece about it.
No, I appreciate that, man. I just don't think it's quite as definitive as you make it, but I'm not mad at you saying that it's Mahomes. I'm okay with that. Yeah. Welcome back to another episode of the Format Podcast Live. All right. And of course, joining us today, we got my main man, Sneed from SMT Media Network. What's good, Sneed? How you doing?
What up? It's good to be here, man. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Good to have you. If you're watching here on YouTube, make sure you go ahead, click that subscribe, that like, that notification bell. Make sure you're kept up to date whenever we drop new content on the channel. If you want the audio only version of the podcast, open up your audio podcast platform, hit the search bar, type in The Format Podcast. We should come right up. If you're enjoying the content, make sure you give us a like, leave us a 5-star review, and drop a comment. All that stuff helps us rise in the algorithm, helps us find more sports fans, helps more sports fans find us. Make sure you write it down, put it in your phone, make a note of it. The Format Podcast is live Sunday mornings at 10 a.m. Eastern. And finally, if you're really and truly enjoying the content we're delivering you, make sure you hit that join button. There's going to be exclusive content here just for you. Big Ben Roethlisberger, he has a podcast. I think it's called Footballing with Big Ben or Footballing with Ben Roethlisberger. And I didn't know about it until last couple of days. I heard about his commentary on basically it was, I think someone sent in a question asking if you would take prime Aaron Rodgers over Patrick Mahomes now, right? And I was like, that's a very good question. But I actually took it and kind of moved the goalpost a little bit. And I said, would you take prime Aaron Rodgers over prime Pat Mahomes? Because I think Pat Mahomes is just moved out of his prime. Still extremely good, but maybe just out of his prime in terms of we don't see him doing what he did when he was at top of the world. But let's hear what Big Ben had to say. And then we'll go ahead and we'll get back and we'll kind of dive into maybe some of the numbers and give our thoughts on this. Because I still haven't been able to make a decision, to be honest. But let's hear what Big Ben had to say.
Oh, I think it was did someone ask a question about would I take Aaron in his prime or Patrick Mahomes now?
Yeah.
Well, I would take Aaron in his prime over Patrick now. I think Aaron Rodgers in his prime was one of the top few to ever do it. And so is Patrick Mahomes at his prime. Patrick Mahomes is just like entering out of his prime, I think.
You think?
I mean, yes, I think Patrick Mahomes is a phenomenal. He's going to go down as a another arguable GOAT.
Mm-hmm.
There's only like one GOAT, but there's GOATs.
There's a whole herd of goats.
Is that a herd?
Herd of goats.
Herd of goats. Sounds about right.
Yeah.
So actually, I looked this up real quick because I do things like that. So apparently, a herd of goats, a group of goats, is most commonly called a herd, but there are two other names for it. One is a tribe of goats.
Okay.
And the other is a trip of goats.
Okay, so groupings of goats. Okay.
Groupings of goats, yes. Herd, tribe, or trip. Just wanted to share that.
Yeah, that's cool. I didn't know that.
And I'm like, let me look this up because I've never.
Yeah.
It's always funny. Like you got a pod of dolphins, like groups of animals.
Shoals, you have schools, you have
like
all these.
Pride of lions.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. So now we know we have a herd, a tribe, or a trip of goats. All right. There you go. I guess this would be your useless information for today. Although I don't believe there's generally useless information except high.
We'll remember this. We'll remember this in the future.
That's correct. That's correct. All right, let's get back to what they were saying.
Yeah,
it could be some unique word, but
yeah. You think Aaron's better?
I think the Aaron in his prime. Then we're talking about Patrick right now.
Yeah.
That's the key.
If we're talking prime and prime, then I'm gonna have to think. I'm gonna really have to think hard on that. Like I am.
Patrick, if we're saying, I think it's because Patrick cut the hair, bro.
And by no stretch of the imagination am I saying Patrick Mahomes is not good. If this was a question of right now versus the best.
That'd be the headline.
I know. Roethlisberger thinks Mahomes is terrible. No. Anyway. So I don't know. That was just a good question. That's a good question though.
Okay, so Pat Mahomes now, I don't think he's as good as prime Aaron Rodgers, and I'm okay with that. But when we start talking about prime versus prime, which is more so where I wanted to take this, that's when you get into a really serious discussion, just in terms of like they played for the most part under pretty much the same rules, right? Aaron Rodgers prime versus Pat Mahomes' prime. Very similar game, but now you got to really start looking at it and you say, man, like the numbers are almost identical. So I actually looked this up. Well, before I even give you that, what are your thoughts on that? If you had to compare and pick prime Aaron Rodgers versus prime Patrick Mahomes, which one are you taking?
My question to that statement, just the statement itself, Bruce,
sure,
is what does Aaron Rodgers do in his prime that Pat Mahomes can't do right now? So that's my first question. And then the nuance to that is, if there is something or some things that are tangibly identifiably better, what are they? Because I would like to pick those things apart. I don't see the things that Aaron Rodgers did then in his prime that Pat Mahomes can't do. So the nuance would be, you need to explain to me what those things are that are tangibly better from A-Rod in his prime versus Mahomes today.
So it is funny that you say that, because whenever people talk about Aaron Rodgers being arguably the greatest thrower of the football we've ever seen, et cetera, I always say, Mr. Marino is knocking at your door. Hold on. Or I always say, Mr. Elway is knocking at your door. Hold on. Like Warren Moon is knocking at your door. Hold on. There are players who are capable of making every single throw and doing every single thing that Aaron Rodgers could do in his prime. And they did it in the face of way more physical defense, rules that didn't protect the quarterback same way, rules that didn't protect the receivers the same way. So that's going to skew numbers. So I think, especially if you're looking across errors, we got to hold off on the numbers, right? Because those things really change things. Now that said, I do think there are a number of, while Aaron Rodgers is elite, I do think there are a number of quarterbacks who could do all the things he could do. So that's very interesting that you asked that question, because I don't think there's anything that he could do that prime Mahomes can't do, right? I also don't think there's anything that prime Mahomes could do that prime Aaron Rodgers couldn't do. So I do think that this is legitimately a toss-up. I think the arm talent is probably about the same. I think they are both.
That's what I'm saying, Bruce. Like, give me 10 things that we could check off, like check boxes. You put these guys in a column, 2 columns, put a checkbox.
Right.
Where is it clear that this guy was better than this guy? And if they're just about the same, that's a push. I can't say with certainty.
Right. I do think it's a push. The Goon, what's going on, Goon? Prime Patrick Mahomes is better than prime Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers couldn't win as much as Mahomes, and winning is what matters at the end of the story. True indeed. But is there any sport where winning is more dependent on your surrounding cast than football? I don't know. I don't know that there is. So like we've got to take that into account. Now, for as good as Aaron Rodgers was, should he have won more? Yes. Yes. But football is so much nuance in terms of
look at his
what affects
championship
winning
that
and
he
what
won in
doesn't.
Green Bay.
Mm-hmm.
They were a wild card team.
Right. That's right.
They were like second or third worst chances to win the Super Bowl.
Yes, that was a great run. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so it's almost like the lightning has to strike in a bottle, right? Like everything has to work.
Yeah, I agree with this, Favre, but with more control. So here's the thing, right?
So then they're not the same because control is important.
Well, I think he's saying he sees the Favre in terms of the mobility, the Favre in terms of the gunslinger mentality, the Favre in terms of being able to make all those throws off like amazing and ridiculous platforms. Like, Transformer always talks about, I think it was in the Super Bowl against Tampa Bay. He's literally like his body is horizontal to the ground, parallel to the ground, excuse me. He's almost horizontal. And somehow he, manages to zip a throw downfield. Like, he can do things very few other quarterbacks have ever been able to do. So I get that. So what I'll say is this. To me, the biggest separator of Patrick Mahomes, and obviously we'll never truly know, would Pat Mahomes be what Pat Mahomes is if he didn't luck into Andy Reid? I think that's such a huge factor. He's got one of the all-time great quarterback coaches with him. I think that's so huge. And so now we ask the question, if prime Aaron Rodgers is with Andy Reid, does he have more than one Super Bowl? Yeah, probably. You know what I'm saying?
Maybe, but I will say that Andy Reid didn't do any winning anywhere else without Pat Mahomes.
Well,
so like if you take Philadelphia, like they lost the NFC Championship games, they lost the Super Bowl, and Andy Reid was viewed as a guy who couldn't break through.
Yeah. No, that's a great point. That's a great point. But I mean, just in terms of being able to put a quarterback in position to maximize his ability, we saw Andy Reid do that with Mike Vick. We saw Andy Reid do that with Donovan McNabb, getting him to like borderline Hall of Fame, right?
He was an NFC Pro Bowler perennially for about a decade.
Yes. So, I really think that Andy Reid, to me, and this is not to say Mahomes couldn't have been great if he landed somewhere else. I just think having the opportunity to sit most of the rookie year behind a consummate pro and a very good quarterback, Alex Smith, right? Learn from that, learn how to be a pro, learn how to read the film, blah, blah, blah. And then Andy Reid, one of the great quarterback coaches of all time, you get him, and then everything just kind of comes together. I think was a huge benefit to what Mahomes became. Not saying he couldn't have won elsewhere, just saying that was a big part of it.
I think the thing about like this conversation about Aaron Rodgers is maybe it's what Aaron Rodgers did after he won the championship that actually prevented him from finding more success. His personality seemed that he was not as hungry, he was not as driven, he was know-it-all. He was, I've done this, I'm the best, everybody talking about how great I am. Dude, like, how you respond to your moment of greatness, like, now you're in this elite company, like, Mahomes seems to be doing this a little bit differently than Aaron Rodgers did in Green Bay. Like, Mahomes still, to me, seems like he's chasing greatness and is not braggadocious about who he is. I saw that from A-Rod.
Right.
A-Rod moved like a guy who had nothing to prove after one championship.
Right.
I don't see that with Mahomes.
Yeah.
So I think some of that Aaron Rodgers was the architect of his lack of success after his Super Bowl.
It's a great point. And, people will point to saying Aaron Rodgers never had the elite defenses. And to an extent, that's true.
There were some good years where they had good defenses.
That's right. Yeah. I like what you're saying. Pat Mahomes still seems to have that hunger year in and year out. While things change around him, he's still hungry. And, you look at it, but just from a statistical standpoint, I looked this up, and what's kind of considered their prime stretches, 4-year primes, are almost identical. It's crazy. This has Aaron Rodgers' prime listed as 2010 through 2014, 77 regular season starts, a little over 22,000 passing yards, averaging 4,427 passing yards per season, 287 passing yards per game, averaging 34 touchdowns per season, 171 total, 33 interceptions over those 4 years, 0.43 per game. Completion percentage 66.8, league average 61%. So you see, yards per attempt 8.2. The efficiency was elite. His best season, I guess, would be 2011, 4,643 passing yards, 45 touchdowns, 6 picks, 70% completions. Out of this world, right? Obviously, the playoff record needs work. 6-4, 1 Super Bowl win. So you have that. And during that time, 2 most valuable player awards, 4-time Pro Bowler, 4-time All-Pro. Okay. Now, Patrick Mahomes, 80 regular season games, 3 more than Aaron Rodgers. Passing yards, 24,241. Now, that would probably reflect, again, skewing of the game in terms of the NFL being more pass happy now. And also Andy Reid, while he is not hesitant to run it, he would prefer to throw it. And Mike McCarthy is more willing to run it. So you got that. So Pat Mahomes is 24,241 passing yards for an average of 48 per season and 303 yards per game during his prime. So just a little bit, what's that, about 15 more yards per game passing, and what's that, about 200 more per season. So pretty much a wash, right? 192 passing touchdowns for an average of 38 per season, 2.4 per game, 49 picks, average of 9.8 per season. So that's probably where Aaron Rodgers really separates himself from so many other quarterbacks. He doesn't throw picks, but he's not throwing picks at the expense of not being a volume passer. So his level of efficiency in his prime was out of this world. Completion percentage, check this out. Pat Mahomes, 66.7%. Aaron Rodgers, 66.8. So like you can see that, right? You can see these guys are right there, Yards per attempt, 7.9. I think yards per attempt for Aaron Rodgers, 8.2. It's like, where do we go with this? Accolades, 2 MVPs, 5-time Pro Bowl, 2-time All-Pro. Like, it's all right there. So I think this is just, super interesting to look at. And I guess at the end of the day, right, this is a show and we're talking about it, and the topic is Rodgers versus Mahomes in their prime. Which one would you rather have? So before I try to answer that, I guess I got to qualify this question. Are we excluding the winning? I don't know if you really can. And just looking at what each quarterback is able to do, or do we include the winning? Because at the end of the day, as it was said in the chat, that's what we do, right?
Mm-hmm.
You play to win the game.
Yeah. And like with Mahomes, his outcomes are like elite. He's getting to these Super Bowls. It's become the Mahomes Invitational for the AFC Championship.
It has.
And he's very dominant, and he's got late game drives to win huge games.
Yeah, man.
So he checks boxes that are unique to the best players of all time.
Yep.
So
great point.
I don't know how Ben Roethlisberger and these people can say so vehemently that Aaron Rodgers' prime, he was better than Patrick Mahomes' prime. I don't see the clearness of it.
Well, Ben Roethlisberger, Big Ben, he said Aaron Rodgers' prime versus Roethlisberger, versus Mahomes now.
But this is part of Mahomes' prime.
I don't know if it is. It seems like he's come down a bit. Like, for instance, when I looked it up, his prime is listed here as 2018 through 2022.
How old is he?
I was just about to ask that. Yeah.
So, and we've seen quarterbacks win Super Bowls in their 30s.
That's true.
Like I get it. It's like a young man's game, but the position is different. The quarterback position is not the running back position.
That's true.
And guys
now than ever. So
and guys develop their game as quarterbacks through different parts of their career. Like Matt Stafford is still an excellent quarterback talent, and I think he's approaching 40.
Yeah.
And Michael Vick's best years as a quarterback, he was clearly past his prime.
That was after he came out of jail. That's right. So Pat Mahomes is 29. He will be 30 on September 20.
There's
September
going
17th.
to be Super Bowls that he wins in his 30s.
Yeah, I can see it.
And his prime at the position may not be his physiological prime.
Right.
Because Brady's physiological prime, he was on the bench.
Correct.
And
Yeah.
actually his best year, well, potentially could have been his best year. He tore his ACL. It was insane with him and Moss.
Yeah.
And they lost to the New York Giants.
Right. This is so tough, man. This is so tough. So you're taking Mahomes prime over Aaron Rodgers prime?
Aaron Rodgers prime in terms of winning was a small window.
Yeah.
So it's hard for me to look past Mahomes producing multiple chips and having everything that Aaron Rodgers did
and more,
but has the winning.
Yeah.
And Aaron Rodgers had really good run games in Green Bay.
That's right.
And Aaron Rodgers had years where there was good defenses. And Mahomes had similar things. Good running backs, good blocking, Travis Kelce in his prime, Tyreek Hill. Like they had, the wide receivers that Aaron Rodgers was throwing to were very, very good. Like Devontae Adams,
Jordy Nelson.
Like there but I'm not saying there's anything wrong with Aaron Rodgers. I just can't see like you're like, oh, it's so clear that Aaron Rodgers' prime was better. How do you do that?
No, I don't think it's so clear that his prime was better. I think that I was saying I think it's a toss up, but the more you talk, the more I'm leaning towards Mahomes. And then at the end of the day, like we do play to win, right? And that's big. And if I'm consistent, which I really, really try to be, I get on LeBron constantly for the big stage losing. If I get on LeBron for that, although it's a different sport, I got to get on Aaron Rodgers for that as well. And so we got to go Mahomes here. It's a tough one because they were both super, super elite, but yeah, we got to go Mahomes just by a hair.
And then when everybody was saying how great Mahomes was, all of a sudden he wasn't winning anymore. Meanwhile, they're telling Mahomes he's great and he just keeps winning.
Yeah.
They're internalizing their greatness differently.
Yeah, agreed. Yep. It's going to be interesting to see how Aaron Rodgers performs in this final season of his career. What is thought to be his final season, as well as it's going to be interesting to see how Mahomes bounces back from that beating he took in the Super Bowl at the hands of the Eagles.
The Eagles were otherworldly.
Yeah, but you know what though? That's the same thing we saw when Tampa Bay beat them up. Tampa Bay beat them the same way. Just got a tremendous amount of pressure, like just front seven dominated.
The Giants, what they did to Tom Brady.
Correct.
That was a front four effort.
Yes.
That was four guys beating up five guys, play after play after play after play.
That's right. Agreed. Good stuff, Sneak. Good stuff. Let's open this up. I want to take a couple calls on this. I would love to hear, what people have to say about Aaron Rodgers' prime versus Pat Mahomes' prime. Who would you take and why? 904-219-8264. 904-219-8264.
I hope the goon calls in, man. I hope the goon. He loves the NFL, bro. He loves the league.
And I see he's a Mahomes guy. You know what though? I gotta say, Transformer's gonna be mad he missed this one. He loves the NFL talk, and this is a great topic.
And I think he's an A-Rod guy, right? Packers and all that.
Yeah, I think so. Edward, what's going on, brother? Good morning.
Good morning, brothers. How y'all doing this lovely Sunday?
What's up?
Doing all right, man.
Hope everybody's doing good. So, question, fellas,
Yes,
y'all
sir.
have a problem? Y'all don't have a problem with Big Ben? The greatest. I ain't gonna say he's the greatest. He has the accolades. He has in top 10 or 5 in accolades when it comes to passing and everything like that. He got the 2 chips, didn't win no All Pros or anything like that. Y'all didn't have a problem with him. Okay, Bruce, chill, bro. You let me finish.
I didn't say
you were both on the chill.
Well, go ahead. Say what you gotta say, Edward.
I'm a Steelers fan, so man,
I know.
do y'all have a problem with him saying he picked a prime Aaron Rodgers? We talking about prime, not overall.
Right.
Aaron Rodgers over a prime Patrick Mahomes, Patty.
I don't have a huge problem with it. No, I don't have a huge problem, but I wouldn't also have a huge problem if he said the opposite.
Okay, and the reason I'm saying that, and then I see you was talking about the Super Bowls. That's team success. We're just talking about
right.
That's the Super Bowls are team success. We're just talking about the accolades and what all he's done. And now his touchdown to interception ratio is mad crazy.
Yeah, out of this world. Absolutely.
Out of this world. And then he got, 4 MVPs. I mean, that's kind of hard to get. You know what I mean? Who got more? I think it's Peyton Manning.
Yes,
he got 5.
Peyton Manning's got 5.
Yeah. So I gotta go with A-Rod. I mean, when he see a play that's not there, he know how to scramble outside the pocket and bam, get the dime right there. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but Mahomes we know can do that too. Playing devil's advocate.
Their completion percentage goes up when they leave the pocket. That's unique.
Crazy. Yeah.
Okay, now what about Hail Mary throws?
Now that I'm gonna give A-Rod, but
you got to get at the A-Rod, Bruce.
I mean, those are kind of chance plays. I don't know how much weight you want to put on that.
And there's also not a huge sample size either way. But yes, A-Rod is arguably the best Hail Mary thrower ever. So I'll give you that.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. And then, it was a season, I forgot when it was, when he only had, I think it was 26 TDs and about 2 or 3 interceptions. He was just throwing a lot of throwaway balls. I mean, but I wouldn't say it's just that hard. I mean, they both right there now. With that being said, I mean, even though now we just talk about team success, A-Rod got 1 Super Bowl. Is he in the room with those guys like the Patty?
No.
Bruce, he got a chip.
No.
He can't sit at the table, but he's not in the room.
Okay. So let's look at who's in the room. Bradshaw's in the room, Elway's in the room, Brady's in the room, Montana's in the room. I don't know if A-Rod can get in that room, man. He's in that room with Drew Brees.
Whoa, Bruce.
What?
Bruce, we can't. Okay, look, let's just say this. If we doing it that, then how about this? Dan Marino can walk in, but he can't sit at the table with those guys because he doesn't have the.
Dan Marino's not in that room either, man. I hate to break it to you.
No, I'm talking about. No. What I'm saying is that there are certain tables in rooms you can go into.
Yeah, I hear you. Okay, fine. So if you want to put all those dudes in the room, that's fine. But there's different tables.
Yeah, different tables. I see Tom Brady sitting right now. He's sitting by himself.
Then
you got the Patty, and then you got the Elways, Peyton
Manning, Troy Aikman's one that we don't remember a lot.
Yeah, but see, nobody remember that second Super Bowl. I mean, we all like to throw LeBron in there. You know what I'm saying? Nobody remember, in it. But I'm just saying, he forgot that he won 2. But he did win that second one. But he was horrible.
Yes, we know.
With the Broncos, you know what I'm saying? But he did get his second.
That year,
yeah,
but overall. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. He got that second tip, no doubt about it. But when it comes to Aaron Rodgers, man, he's in there. You can't put him with Manny Ice. Manny Ice got that 1 MVP. But he's in that room, but he can't sit at the table with the Patties and nothing like that. But he's in there, man. So I did, man. That prime Aaron Rodgers was a bad boy.
Yeah, he was.
He was a bad boy. But when comes to the Super Bowl and everything like that, man, that's all team success. I'm just looking at the individual awards, man. But that's all I got to say, brother.
All right, I appreciate it. Thanks for the call,
Ed. I would appreciate it.
All right, man.
All right, brother. All right, caller from Ohio, call back.
That's the goon, bro. That's the goon.
Okay. Yeah, all right, goon, call us back, man. Call us back. We definitely going to hear from you on this.
You know, when the goons are calling, you got problems, bro.
right. I ain't gonna let the goon know where I live. What's going on,
goon? I just gotta say, I don't even know why we're having this conversation about Mahomes and Rodgers, but at the end of the day, winning is what matters.
It is.
Aaron Rodgers is like the LeBron of football if he won less. He is one of the most talented football players ever and is arguably a top 3 passer ever. But he, at the end of the day, he couldn't win when he was in the best possible situation he could have been.
Okay.
That's my problem. And I think
I'm
Mahomes, he's overachieved so much in his career with some of these teams. I'm going to say the one team he had with Tyreek Hill, they should have won that, and he probably shouldn't have lost against Tampa Bay. But those two Super Bowls from 2 years ago, that is really what solidified him. I think he's a top 3 quarterback ever. And I'm probably biased because he's from my generation. But I just, at the end of the day, winning is what matters, and the dominance he showed over the league since he got in is what puts him above Aaron Rodgers. And I know he has less MVPs, but football at the end of the day is a team sport.
Yeah, no, I'm okay with the MVP thing.
And I think Aaron Rodgers he didn't give a shit after he won. And I think he should have won more in his career. And that's my biggest problem.
Yeah, so it's a situation of maybe underachievement in your perspective.
Yeah, exactly. And I think, we're going to use the Andy Reid argument, but we were saying about that guy in New England, and then he goes to Tampa Bay and he wins one.
Right.
So I feel like that argument is also relevant because we're also looking at the talent Mahomes has as well. So I don't know. I just wanted to give my piece about it.
No, I appreciate that, man. I just don't think it's quite as definitive as you make it, but I'm not mad at you saying that it's Mahomes. I'm okay with that. I just don't think it's that definitive when you look at down the line what these dudes were able to do. And I get it. It is about winning, no question. So if anything, the winning is the separator, and I'm fine with that.
I just got to work. I just wanted to call and give my piece. Thank you.
Hey, I appreciate it. Make sure you like and subscribe to the Format Podcast.
Oh, man. Yeah. I got you.
All right. Thank you, brother. Appreciate it. Have a great day. Good call from Goon.
I'm like that too, bro.
Out of the gate.
I'm like that too. I'm always looking at players if they left meat on the bone. You know what I'm saying? Like, could they have squeezed out another chip, another accomplishment?
Right.
Did they do something that hindered their potential to achieve?
Right.
Because the numbers are there. You can't really distinguish these guys by the numbers.
And real quick, as we're talking about leaving meat on the bone, pause. What you got to look at, if we're doing any type of NBA comparison, that's why, as much as I'm in no way any sort of Lakers fan, I have so much respect for Kobe, because nobody can ever say he left anything out there. Like
they do talk about the years in between Shaq and Powell.
How? No, Kobe did everything he could do with that roster.
They say they didn't have the winning and that they hold him to that standard. It's tough, bro, but they say that.
Wow.
I don't. I think that run with the 3 trips to the finals with the 2 chips, I think that's like,
he didn't have a top 75 player with him when he did that.
It's a unique storyline that we really haven't seen.
Right.
He literally had 2 segments of his career.
Correct.
That were standalone, all-time great.
Yes.
Who has 2 careers in one?
It's
it's unique. It's only a couple of guys that are able to resurrect their career in that way.
Right. Yeah. No, that's why I give Kobe all of his due, man, because he truly squeezed every single bit of everything out of that career that he had. Yeah.
I think there's a little bit to that. I think Aaron was in his way a little bit, his own way.
Yeah, I'm good with that.
Yeah.
I respect that.